My name is Ben, and I was built for motion. A desk job in a gray cubicle farm felt like a prison sentence, so I spent my weekends and vacation days seeking freedom in the one place it was always guaranteed, the mountains. My life was measured in miles hiked, elevation gained, and summits conquered. I trusted the tangible things, the burn in my calves, the weight of my pack, the reliable crunch of my boots on a well-marked trail. The Sierra Nevadas were my usual sanctuary, but a work conference in Tennessee presented an opportunity to explore a new range. I pored over maps of the Great Smoky Mountains, looking for a challenge. The popular trails were too crowded, too managed. I wanted something raw. That's how I found the Black Bear Ridge Trail on a faded, topographical map in a local outfitter's shop. "That's an old one," the shopkeeper, a man with a beard like Spanish moss and eyes that had seen countless seasons, said as he rang up my supplies. "Not maintained like the others. Easy to lose the path if you're not paying attention. Gets quiet out there." "Quiet is what I'm after," I said with a confident smile, tapping my map case. "I know how to navigate." He gave a slow, non-committal nod. "Sure you do. Just remember, the woods here, they have a different personality. Heard things on that trail, time to time." "Like what?" "Bears." I was already mentally checking my bear spray. "Not bears," he said, his gaze drifting towards the mist-shrouded peaks visible through the shop window. "Echoes. Folks say the ridge plays tricks on you. You'll hear things that ain't there. Or, things that are, but shouldn't be." He looked back at me, and for a moment, his folksy charm vanished, replaced by a flat, serious intensity. "If you hear your name, don't answer it. And if you see another hiker who don't look quite right, you just keep on walking. Don't make eye contact." I laughed, a short, dismissive sound. "Right. Got it. Don't talk to strangers." I took my bag, dismissing his warnings as local superstition designed to spook a city boy. I was a man of GPS and logic. My world didn't have room for ghost stories. The next morning, the trail lived up to its promise of solitude. The air was thick and cool, heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. The path was narrow and braided with exposed roots, winding through a dense forest of hemlock and rhododendron. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the canopy, casting the world in a deep, emerald twilight. It was beautiful, but the beauty had a claustrophobic edge. The shopkeeper's words nudged at the back of my mind, but I pushed them away. This was exactly what I wanted. For the first 2 hours, the hike was pure, physical bliss. The trail climbed steadily, and my breathing fell into a familiar, meditative rhythm. The only sounds were my own, the crunch of my boots, the slight jingle of gear in my pack, my own steady breath. The silence was profound, but it felt natural, peaceful. Then, I heard the first snap. It was a sharp, clear sound, a branch breaking underfoot. It came from behind me, maybe 30 yards back. I stopped, turning to look. The trail was empty, a winding tunnel of green fading into the gloom. Probably a deer, I thought. Or a squirrel. I waited a moment, listening, but heard nothing more. I shrugged and continued on. Every shadow became a hiding place, every rustle of leaves a sign of pursuit. And then I heard my name. It was a whisper, so faint it could have been the wind sighing through the pine needles. But it wasn't the wind. It was a voice, soft and indistinct, but unmistakably human. It spoke my name. Ben. I froze, my blood turning to ice. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, filtering through the trees like mist. It wasn't shouted or called, it was simply stated, a flat, toneless utterance. The rational part of my brain, the part that lived in a world of spreadsheets and satellite imagery, short-circuited. "It's an auditory hallucination," it insisted. "The wind, a trick of the mind in the silence." But the primal, ancient part of me, the part that knew about predators and things that lurked in the dark, knew better. That part was screaming. I remembered the shopkeeper's warning. If you hear your name, don't answer it. I didn't. I stood there, rooted to the spot, my ears straining against the silence. The forest seemed to be leaning in, listening for my response. After a full minute that felt like an hour, I forced my legs to move. I broke into a jog, my pack bouncing awkwardly on my back. I didn't care about pace or endurance anymore. I just wanted to get out. The trail began to change. It grew fainter, more overgrown. The comforting blue blazes painted on the trees became fewer and farther between. I was so focused on what was behind me that I'd neglected to pay attention to where I was going. Panic began to set in, cold and sharp. I was lost, and I was being hunted by a whisper. I fumbled for my GPS unit. The screen flickered, the signal weak and unstable in the deep valley. It showed my location, but the trail seemed to have vanished from its digital map. I was a blinking dot in a sea of green topographical lines. I heard my name again. This time, it was closer. Clearer. It was a man's voice, but it had a hollow, empty quality, like a recording played back in an empty room. Ben. I started to run, properly run, crashing through the undergrowth, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Branches whipped at my face and arms. I didn't look back. I just ran, driven by a terror I had never known before. I burst into a small, rocky clearing, stumbling to a halt at the edge of a shallow creek. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my temples. I leaned over, hands on my knees, trying to catch my breath. The sound of the water over the stones was a welcome, normal sound. For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I had outrun it. That's when I saw him. On the other side of the creek, maybe 20 feet away, a man was standing perfectly still. He was dressed in hiking gear, old-fashioned, worn-looking boots, khaki pants, a red plaid shirt. He had a backpack on. He was just standing there, facing me, but his head was tilted down, his face hidden by the brim of a wide, floppy hat. Relief, so potent it made me dizzy, washed over me. Another person. A real, solid person. I wasn't alone. Hey! I called out, my voice cracking. Hey, man! Am I glad to see you? I think I'm lost. I've been hearing. My voice trailed off. The man hadn't moved. He didn't react to my voice at all. He just stood there, unnervingly still. The relief curdled back into dread. Hello. I said, more cautiously. Slowly, as if on a rusty hinge, the man's head began to rise. I never saw his face. There was no face to see. Where his features should have been, there was only a smooth, blank expanse of pale, waxy skin. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. The shopkeeper's final warning echoed in the screaming silence of my mind. If you see another hiker who don't look quite right, you just keep on walking. Don't make eye contact. But it was too late. I was already looking. I was frozen, trapped by the sheer, impossible wrongness of what I was seeing. The faceless man took a step towards the creek. Then another. His movements were stiff, jerky, like a puppet with tangled strings. He didn't make a sound. His boots made no impression on the soft mud of the creek bank. A sound finally broke from my throat, a strangled, terrified gasp. I stumbled backward, tearing my gaze away from the horror. I turned and fled, not caring about direction, only about putting distance between me and that thing. I crashed through the creek, icy water soaking my legs, and plunged back into the woods on the other side. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out, collapsing against the trunk of a massive oak tree. I listened, my entire body trembling. I heard nothing but the blood roaring in my ears and the normal, blessed sounds of the forest. No footsteps. No whispers. No silent, faceless hiker. I have no memory of the rest of the hike out. It's a blur of panic and exhaustion. I must have found the trail again, or maybe I just crashed downhill until I hit a road. I remember the overwhelming, tearful relief of seeing my car sitting alone in the deserted trailhead parking lot, the late afternoon sun glinting off its windshield. I drove away from the Smokies that night and never went back. I sold most of my hiking gear when I got home. The mountains, my old sanctuaries, now felt like places of unsettling potential. The silence I once sought now feels like a veil, hiding things I can never unsee. I still hike sometimes, but I stick to the busy, well-traveled paths in the Sierras. I never hike alone. And at the first sign of an unexpected sound, a snap of a twig, a voice on the wind, I turn around. I've learned that the most dangerous thing in the woods isn't the terrain or the wildlife. It's the echo that knows your name, and the stranger who wears the woods like a skin. Some trails aren't meant to be walked, and some silence is a warning to turn back.